Welcome to Pomegranate Radio with your host, Jonathan Cook.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan here in the Pomegranate Radio booth. Let's talk about gaming. What kind of year has it been? Well, given the past couple years of this console generation, I'm tempted to say it's been another shitty year. But has it? Has it really been a bad year? Is this a continuously bad generation? Let's find out. All right, first up, let's talk hardware. Because without good hardware, what do we have? Bad hardware. That was funnier in my head. Alright, let's talk about the VR. The Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, and the PlayStation VR all released this year in March, April, and October, respectively. Are they any good? There's really no way of knowing at this point. They are basically glorified tech demos. That's all that is currently available. There's nothing on any of the platforms that I've seen that really makes a compelling case for VR. Now, is the hardware itself impressive? Does it represent the sea change that everybody is saying it represents? In my opinion, no. It's basically like 3D movies. That was all the rage a couple years ago, and now does anybody really care? Admittedly, Godzilla in 3D, pretty cool. Top Gun, pretty cool. Everything else? Who cares? Now, full disclosure, I have tried all three platforms, okay? The Rift, the Vive, and the PSVR. I do need to disclose, however, that obviously I no longer wear glasses. What you may not know is I'm not wearing contacts either. Back in August, I did have LASIK eye surgery. They took lasers and sculpted the surface of my eye so that I could, see like a normal human being again. It's money well spent, let me tell you. Spend this money, don't go 4K anything. Spend the money on your eyes. If you've already got perfect eyes, go 4K. But moving on. Back when I tried the Rift and the Vive, Back when I tried the Rift and the Vive, I was still wearing glasses. The difference between those platforms and the PSVR when I wasn't wearing glasses in October was night and day. There was a massive, massive difference. I think that's going to be a stumbling block. I think that VR technology is not designed for people with glasses, or at least not designed for people with really bad eyes like mine were. I needed a very, very thick prescription, all right? I always had to buy the thinnest lenses made in the world. And even so, my glasses were about a quarter of an inch, maybe even an inch thick. So keep that in mind. I don't think there's a significant difference that the average consumer is going to know or care about between the three platforms. I think it's a matter of what platform do you want to support? Do you have a PC gaming rig that you can easily add a PC VR headset to? Or do you already have the investment in the PlayStation brand and you want to support Sony? Just add another box and another dozen wires or so. However you go, it's not there yet. There's no compelling reason right now aside from being the first. And I understand that. I really do. Which brings us to 4K gaming. We saw the release this year of the Xbox One S and the PS4 Pro, and next year, possibly we're going to see the release of Xbox Scorpio, whatever they end up calling that. Now, reality is that 4K gaming is not there. It's not there the way people want it to be, not the way people are accustomed to. We like our games to be very fluid, to be graphically gorgeous. And the reality is that takes a lot of processing power, a lot of GPU cycles. The current top-of-the-line, cream of the crop, NVIDIA and ATI graphics cards struggle to pull this off. All right, we're talking the $600, $700, $800 cards are struggling to do 4K. All right, to say nothing of 4K at 60 frames per second. That just ain't happening right now outside of very, very expensive specialized PC gaming rigs. So where do the Xbox One S and the PS4 Pro fall? The Xbox One S, I'm not even sure if it actually does gaming in 4K. I haven't had a chance to really play with one of those. I do know it does streaming and Ultra HD Blu-rays, and it supports HDR10. Okay, that's great. Is that worth the upgrade? Well, if you don't want a 4K Ultra Blu-ray player in addition to your Xbox One, absolutely. Other than that, I don't know. If I'm an Xbox One player, I'd be waiting for the Scorpio. And even that, I'm a little leery on. The PS4 Pro. Was it worth it? Is it a letdown? This represents the big problem with mid-generation console upgrades that need to maintain backwards compatibility. There is very little compelling reason to upgrade to one of these. You're not getting 4K resolution. You're getting a weird somewhere in between resolution that is then upscaled even further to give you 4K resolution. You're not getting true 4K. That's fine. The graphic difference is not significant, not as significant as, for example, HD to 4K Blu-ray. There is a significant difference there. People who tell you there is not don't have big enough TVs, I'm guessing. But from game to game, from HD to 4K, not a big difference on the PS4 Pro. Frame rates take a hit, all right? If you're playing at 1080p, frame rates sometimes improve, sometimes don't improve. But if you're playing 4K, you're lucky if you get the 30 frames per second. The Last Guardian struggles on a PS4 Pro. It's really problematic on a regular PS4, but it even struggles on a PS4 Pro. Is the PS4 Pro a worthy upgrade? Not if you own a PS4. It was one of the reasons that I really thought long and hard about upgrading to 4K for my TV, which I eventually did on Black Friday, but I still have yet to buy the PS4 Pro. I don't see any compelling reason. I don't see any games that make it worth my while, you know? Will it eventually be a worthwhile upgrade? Probably. And if I didn't already have a PS4, I'd definitely get the PS4 Pro, just to future-proof myself, all right? I would probably wait a couple months for a price drop, but, you know, parents, if you're gonna buy a PS4 for your kids, buy them the damn Pro, all right? Especially if there's any chance you're gonna upgrade to a 4K TV. That eventually, I think, will be worthwhile. It's just not really worthwhile now. Other than that, in terms of hardware, was there anything new this year? Was there any reason to upgrade anything else? NVIDIA released some new graphics cards. They're pretty nice, pretty sexy. My brother upgraded his. He loved it. Other than that, I don't know. I'm not a PC gamer, so really haven't kept up with that. Let's get to the games. January, traditionally a shitty month for game releases. How was it this year? I don't know. Let's find out. All right. Gone Home Console Edition. I love this game, and I'm so glad they released it on the consoles this year so I can talk about it. Is it a walking simulator? Yes, it is. But it's so much better than the average walking simulator. It had a good story. It was a simple, humane story. I loved it. Released on the PS4 and the Xbox One, I don't think it's worth $20. I think I got it when it was I want to say I got it on the PS Plus free, one of the free months, and I really enjoyed it. If it was down to $10 or so, maybe 15, give it a go. It's really, really awesome. If you get it on Steam, you know, don't pay $20. Really, really good game. Really enjoyed it. But it is a re-release, and that is a disturbing trend for this generation. Re-release upon re-release upon re-release upon re-release upon re-release upon re-release, followed by more re-releases. I'm tired of that. Stop re-releasing games. At least this one wasn't already out on a console. We'll get to those momentarily. What else? Oxenfree. That was a pretty cool game. Something a little bit different, but a nice kind of indie game. I like those. And there's some really good indie games this year, really this generation. Indie games really come into their own. Yeah. Resident Evil 0 HD Remaster. Let's talk about the damn remasters. It needs to stop. There are so many goddamn remasters that you're almost re-releasing more games than you are publishing new games. All right? And I get it. You can finally clean up some of these games that had limitations back when they were originally done. I get it. Nostalgia. I get it. But so few of them are done well. So many of them are incredibly, incredibly poorly ported. All kinds of bugs. In many cases, they are never fixed. All right? In some cases, you completely screw up the port to the point where everybody and their grandmother would rather play Silent Hill 2 on the original PS2 versus last generation hardware. I'm just saying. Gold standard for what not to do when remastering a game. Silent Hill HD Collection. HD. Hot Dookie Collection. But the Resident Evil remasters, they're a way to play it on current consoles. And I enjoy that, I guess. I've been playing Resident Evil 4 on my PS4, and this is one of the few times where I've noticed the graphical difference between generations. It's really been driven home. I know there's graphical improvements, but it's never been a real drastic one between, for example, PS3 and PS4. The frame rate, however, the difference between the remaster on the PS3 version, which I already owned, and the PS4 version is night and day. I plugged in my PS3 yesterday just to see if it really was that difference, and it's pretty dramatic. And I really missed, for that hour and a half I was playing Assignment Ada, I really missed the 60 frames per second. So, I guess there's that. But don't screw up the remasters when you do them. What else? Oh dear God. The Witness. The Witness really sucks, okay? It really sucks. It is not a particularly good game. Is it well designed? Well, the puzzles are sort of, kind of, maybe, in some vague abstract notion, well designed. But the game is not, all right? I don't like the learning curve. I don't like the way in which you learn how to play the game. I don't like the gameplay. I don't like the bizarre way in which the puzzles are laid out on the screen, and if you're not really paying attention, you could miss entire puzzles. I don't like the bizarre meta commentary at the end of the game, all right? I'm so sick of this. This isn't Paul Auster, okay? Stop with the meta commentary shit, all right? And Jesus Christ, Jonathan Blow, is his name Jonathan Blow? It's Jonathan Blow, right? Stop treating him like he's the second coming of the Messiah of video games, all right? Yeah. All right? I'm tired of hearing about his version of game design and his philosophy. If you're not going to deliver on what you're preaching, stop preaching. In fact, if you only have prior to this one major game to your name, don't preach. All right? This was an incredibly disappointing game. Was it beautiful? Yeah. Do I really buy this bullshit that the PS4 was the only console that was powerful enough to run it? No. But, hey, it's Jonathan Blow, and everything he does turns to gold. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people really didn't like it, and I find that interesting. Well, that's about it for January. February, Gravity Rush Remastered. Gravity Rush Remastered. Final Fantasy IX for iOS. Rocket League for Xbox One. Far Cry Primal. Well, it was a new Far Cry. It really sucked. I don't understand this one because the Far Cry games really are pretty good. All right? Each one is flawed in its own way, but each one does improve in some way on the others. You know, I really liked Far Cry 3. I really, really wish they would remaster that. I held off for a long time buying that because I figured they were going to remaster it for the PS4. They didn't. So I ended up buying it on Steam. But I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed Far Cry 4. I really thought that was pretty good. I love that you can end the game in 15 minutes. I thought that was great. Primal, neat idea, but honestly, it didn't feel like a Far Cry game. It didn't feel like there was as much substance. It felt like a standalone expansion pack, kind of like Blood Dragon, except that Blood Dragon was really, really, really good. I'd argue that Blood Dragon may have been the high point of the series thus far. Primal, there's so little to it, so little substance. I mean, it could be worse. It could be that other game this year. I still wake up screaming. March. Heavy Rain for the PS4. You know what this remaster proves? There are some games that everybody and their grandmother worked themselves into a red hot lather over at the time of the original release that really, really, really didn't age well. Heavy Rain did not age well. Heavy Rain, I went back and played the PS3 version a couple months ago, and my God, is it a clunky game. It's nowhere near as visually impressive as I remember at the time. I think it was impressive at the time, but the seams show so much more strongly when you view it with a couple years of distance. The acting is god-awful. The acting was god-awful back when it was released. It's not improved since. Music is good. The controls are terrible. Camera, not very good. The story, very, very hokey. Emotional, yeah, but really emotional in a fundamentally manipulative way. This isn't a good game, and the remaster is borderline dreadful. Graphical glitches here and there, graphical glitches galore, screen tearing, FPS drops, it was very poorly optimized port. Did they eventually fix it? Kind of, but if you're really going to play this game, get it on the PS3. Or get the remaster when it's free, or $1.99. Not a good game. If you haven't played it, you should play it because it really was a milestone at the time, but it hasn't aged well, and keep that in mind. What else we got? The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive, is it a high-definition remaster of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess originally released for GameCube and Wii in 2006? It's a Legend of Zelda. If you didn't play it the original time, the original release, and you have a Wii U, all three of you that have a Wii U, you should play this game. It's good. But it's another remaster! Tom Clancy's The Division. Holy hell. My brother, who does not give up on games, all right? He likes his multiplayer games. No matter how bad it is, he will keep playing it. My brother, after 3 days of owning this game, he got it on release date, so take that into account. After 3 days, he called me and gave me a laundry list of the problems with the game. After a month, he said the flaws still hadn't been fixed. All right, he stopped playing after 3 days, went back, tried it with the updates and patches. After a month, still a cluster. I mean, this was really hyped through the roof, and it was just bad. I'm given to understand it's not as bad now, but I'm not sure anybody's still playing it. I'm not sure anybody really cares to give it a second chance. And that's something you're seeing a lot this year. Companies really dropping the ball, fixing their problems to some extent, some better than others. Sean Murray, you rat bastard. Some not really doing enough. And then, regardless, the audience leaving, not giving them a second chance. And I think that's because there are so many options nowadays. There are so many other games in any given genre that you can go to when one game disappoints. And you don't need to go back to that game. And you can just hawk it at GameStop. You get $40 for a new release instead of your original $60, but hey, it's like a prolonged rental, $20 rental. Which doesn't always make sense, but hey, it is what it is. Shadow Complex Remastered. Day of the Tentacle Remastered. It's a classic, and the remaster is really, really, really good. In fact, I'd argue that the Day of the Tentacle Remaster eclipses the Monkey Island remasters, and those are some of my favorite games of all time. Day of the Tentacle, which wasn't one of my favorites, is a classic. I love it. Not a perfect game, not one of my favorites. I think the remaster is fantastic. It's an example of how you do a remaster correctly. It doesn't alter the entire game. It gives it a fresh coat of paint and keeps everything else exactly where it was. No problems with bugs, no problems with the audio dropping out, no problems with the FPS, just a good, solid remaster. But it's another remaster. Why? Dead or Alive Extreme 3. Yes, I did import a copy of this. It's ridiculous, it's a guilty pleasure, and I'm not apologizing for it. Graphically, it's not really that impressive. The breast physics, those are not realistic breasts. I don't care what the creator says. Breasts don't move like that. All right? It's a ridiculous game. It's a ridiculous series. And you know what? it embraces that. And I got to give it credit. It's not a huge expansion. There's not a lot new to the series. It is what it is. Resident Evil 6 for the PS4 and the Xbox One. April! Let's see, we've got Dark Souls 3. Great game. I love it. Does it really bring anything new to the series? No, it really doesn't. The weapons art crap, I never used. Partly because my first playthrough, I couldn't figure out how to use the weapon arts. When I did figure it out, I'm like, well, okay, this is cool, but it's not changing the way I play the game. I still can do everything I want to do using my regular one-hand sword. Occasionally two-handing it for a boss. Graphically, it's gorgeous, the best the series has ever looked. Other than that, I don't know. The Ashes of Ariandel DLC, kind of disappointing when you can beat it in under 3 hours. And that's both bosses. Yeah, all 2. It's not a bad game, and I'm not disappointed in the sense of that game at the end of the summer. I'm disappointed in the sense that it's just average. It's not great, not particularly bad, it's just right in the middle. It's a good, solid game. It doesn't add much, and I guess maybe I'm just getting tired of the Souls games. I would like Bloodborne 2. I really want to see Bloodborne 2. I loved Bloodborne. I loved Dark Souls 3. I just didn't love it too much. Everybody's gone to the Rapture for Windows. I don't know. Did this come out for the consoles first? I can't remember. Yeah, PS4 back last year. Gives me an excuse to talk about it because this was the first time I actually played it this year. It sucks. It's a bad walking simulator. Everything that Gone Home does right, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture does wrong. It's just a stupid, poorly written game. And the fact that you can't run, you can speed up your character. You can accelerate your walk. Bullshit. You can't move fast in this game. It just sucks. Graphically, it's okay, except that it looks like a mod for Half-Life 2. It's a very well polished mod for Half-Life 2, but it looks like that. You know, and I think the company, I'm pretty sure the company got their start doing mods for Half-Life 2. So, all right. There's really nothing to recommend in this game. So, moving on. King's Quest Chapter 3. Oh dear God. This remake, reimagining, reboot, whatever the hell you want to call it, has not fared well. It's not one of the old Sierra point-and-click adventure games. It's just not a good episodic series. And the weird thing is, they ain't learning from their mistakes. They're taking their sweet-ass time between episodes, but they're not improving anything. This is, if anything, it's getting worse. May. Shadow Complex Remastered. I think I already mentioned that, but this time for Windows and PS4. I really don't care. Kathy Rain for Windows and Mac. This one is a throwback to the traditional LucasArts and Sierra point-and-click adventure games. Really to the LucasArts point-and-click adventure games. Short. Story falls apart at the end. I really, really enjoyed it. It really felt like a retro game. I liked her attitude. I do think the whole pissed off protagonist thing, the angsty goth college kid, I'm tired of it, or angsty punk in this case. I'm kind of tired of it, but she was an interesting character. The rest of the characters were kind of one-dimensional. Music was pretty good. I liked it. This was a good game. I really enjoyed it. Steam, good old games. I think it's on the Mac store as well. Definitely recommend you try it out. If you like point-and-click adventure games, Kathy Rain, very good game. And definitely one of the highlights of this year. How sad is that? Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Uncharted 2 was undoubtedly the high point of the series. Uncharted 4 comes very, very close to topping it. It doesn't quite meet that standard of excellence because too much of it feels familiar. There's too much of it that is simply a polished version of what came before it. You could say the same for all three games that came before it, but I think this one really was just a graphical overhaul of those three games. But the story. I loved this story. This is probably my favorite story, my favorite narrative in a video game this year. It had nothing to do with the supernatural. It was rooted entirely in the relationships between characters. I thought that was wonderful. I loved Nate's brother. I think he was a terrific addition. I love their interactions. I love the quasi-twists and turns. You could see most of them coming, but they were still very well done. Production, Jesus Christ, Naughty Dog knows how to produce a game. All right, this is one of the most visually impressive games of this year, hands down. Uncharted 4, if you haven't played it, play it. This is a fantastic game, and it's a fitting end to the series. All right, you don't need any more. All right, this was his swan song, and it was a hell of a swan song. Doom for Windows, PS4, and Xbox One. I had gotten so used to how first-person shooters work in the current generation, the modern era of first-person shooters, that this one shocked the hell out of me. It felt and played like an old-school Doom game. It really, really did. It's a fantastically good-looking game. It's fantastic, and my brother verified this on his computer. It's fantastic visually, even on very middle-of-the-road hardware. It's not the world's most demanding game, from what I'm told. Yes, it's a demanding game, but it's nowhere near as demanding as, for example, The Witcher 3, or the Crysis series is known to be. It's incredibly gory. I do think it's almost unnecessarily gory and violent, and it does fetishize the violence in some cases, but I think it's very much a return to form. I didn't like Doom 3. I thought Doom 3 was Doom if Doom was a survival horror game in the vein of Resident Evil 4. You know, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a Doom game. Doom, the 2016 version, fantastic. Fantastic. A real surprise. Not something that I'm going to go out and play every day, but a real welcome change from so much same old, same old. Shadow of the Beast for PS4. Again, a remake, a remaster. But damn, was that hard. Woo! That game kicked my ass pretty severely. I've played a lot of games in my life. This game reminded me of playing Ghosts and Goblins. That game really brought me down to the ground. It's a good game, but holy hell is that hard. Overwatch. What can you say? If you like this kind of thing, Overwatch. What can you say? If you like this sort of thing, you're gonna love it. If you don't like it, you're not gonna care. It's another multiplayer arena shooter kind of game. Not something that's interested me in the least, but it is what it is. My brother loves it. A lot of people I follow online absolutely love it. SS Sniper Wolf. I watch her videos because she's hot, but she likes it. If it's good enough for SS Sniper Wolf, it's good enough for us. Here we are in June. Mighty Number 9. Oh, poster child for why Kickstarter may not be the be-all end-all godsend that everybody thinks it is. Mighty Number 9. Is there an area that this game did not fail to deliver on? Graphically, gameplay-wise? Well, if you can't get those right, you really don't have much else. The music was kind of nice. Kinda. Resident Evil 5 for PS4 and Xbox One. Because why not? Kind of broken though. Buggy remaster port. Just saying. July. Pokemon Go. You know, I could say a lot about Pokemon Go. The reality is, I saw a lot of people out and about searching for Pokemon, and I saw them in groups of, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had students who would get in their car and drive around town looking for Pokemon in groups. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And the fact that they were getting outdoors and playing this game, that says a lot. But it's Pokemon Go. It wasn't really that good of a game. Sorry, Nintendo, but it's not. Inside, the not sequel to Limbo. Thematically, visually, very, very similar. I do prefer Limbo's visuals. And Inside, when I first saw videos of the gameplay, I figured it was so close to Limbo, I really had no interest in it. Then I got a chance to play it. It takes everything that was good about Limbo and refines it. So basically, it's Limbo 2.0. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Narratively, I think Limbo was much more interesting. I think Inside, kind of a cop-out. Story just really wasn't really all that interesting. Visually, I liked it. I like the visuals, like I said, of Limbo better. I like that monochromatic look, that noir, black and white. But Inside was pretty cool, and I like the depth that they gave it, the 3D effects that they gave, essentially a 2D game. Wouldn't pay full price for this game, but if it comes up as a $10 game, get it for that. Definitely give it a go. It's a really cool game. Starbound for Windows, Mac, and Linux. This is an interesting one. I didn't get this when it came out. I got it in September due to a video that said that game from the end of the summer could learn a thing or two from Starbound's development history. I didn't play the early access version of Starbound. I don't play any early access games. I don't pay for betas. I think that's bullshit. But Starbound is a survival game with a narrative, with a story, that's all about crafting and procedural generation to an extent. It's really about making and playing the game the way you want to play it. There's a lot of options, a lot of cool things you can do with it. It's kind of got a retro look to it. It's a retro 2D side scroller. Very well done. Very, very well done. And it really drives home just how far off that game at the end of the summer really was. It's a good game. Starbound, If you can get it, I think you can get it on Good Old Games for like $15. That's not bad. If you wait for one of their sales, you can probably get it for like $3.99. It's a steal, and you'll get hours of enjoyment out of this. I mean, like dozens of hours of enjoyment out of this game. I'm enjoying it. I'm taking my time with it, and I'm just playing it when just kind of need to turn my head off, and it's really good for that. August. Oh God. Oh God. No Man's Sky. No. Oh God. Look, I've covered No Man's Sky twice, which I don't do. This will be the third time talking about this shit-tastic game. I have gotten the Platinum Trophy on it. I got the Platinum Trophy 3 weeks after purchasing the game, by the way, and about a day or two after finishing the last video on it. When you get to the center of the galaxy and the game just restarts, the world's worst cinematic cutscene, and you've gotten the Platinum Trophy, and there's really nothing to do but fly around, the game does somewhat improve if you only play for 20 or 40 minutes at a time, because it's just a fly around, do nothing, do whatever, chill kind of game. That's not a terrible thing. But getting to that point, getting to that feeling, took me a very long time. And even with patch 1.11, or whatever the hell it is, I think it's patch 1.13 now, the reality is the game has not improved. It's stable. You can have base building and freighters. The graphics are somewhat improved, or at least the diversity of what you see on each planet is improved. You now have like clusters of freighters and spaceships in space. Asteroid fields are differentiated. But there's still so much nothing in this game. And everything that's in the Foundation update should have been in the game when it was released. This game is the definition of a cluster. This game will go down in history, in video game history, as one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest letdowns of all time. You're gonna have BNMS and ANMS, before No Man's Sky and after No Man's Sky. We are living in a post-No Man's Sky world, my friends. I do think that No Man's Sky burnt a lot of people. I feel burnt. I've logged 60 plus hours now in this game, and I'm still angry about paying $60 for it. I still feel that I was taken. You know, I could have waited for the reviews. Maybe I should have. But then you've got Bethesda earlier this year saying, no, we're not going to do the review copy thing. We want people to buy the games and play them and make their own opinions. We don't want critics defining the games. Okay, but you know what? Most people aren't going to drop $60 every couple weeks on a new game. Most people can't afford to do that, all right? We want reviews, and we want them in advance. No Man's Sky sucks. Don't buy it. Wait another year and see if they've actually fixed it and made it a content-rich game. Because right now, you're paying $60 for one of the worst survival simulations I've ever seen. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Good game. Solid game. I don't have a lot to say about it. Just a solid game. I really, really enjoyed it. Great way of whittling away 12 or 15 hours. You know, not a hugely long game, but really enjoyable. It's a good addition to the franchise. My God, are we really already? Yeah, we're already in September. BioShock, the collection. Look, They're great games. BioShock 2 is an underrated gem. But it's another collection of remasters! Why are you... You know, who cares at this point? 60 frames per second? Great, whatever. I don't care. Alright, true 1080p? I guess, whatever. It's upscaled. I don't give a crap anymore. I enjoyed the games. But, kind of like with the Uncharted collection, I started playing them and I haven't finished any of them. You know, not in the remasters. I don't care. They're the exact same game. I've already played them. Maybe someday I'll go back and play them. But by then, will I still have a PS4? I don't know. I don't know. Oh look, The Witness for Xbox One. But Jonathan Blow said the PS4 was the only console capable of running his game. And it still sucks. Dear Esther, Landmark Edition. It was a good game. I don't think it's as good as Gone Home, but I enjoyed it. Still better than Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. But then again, this is better than Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Rawr, rawr, rawr. King's Quest Chapter 4, No Place Like Home. Which brings us to October, believe it or not. How much positive have I actually said this entire video? Oh, Christ. Rocksmith 2014 Edition Remastered. Rocksmith 2014 Edition Remastered. Rocksmith 2014 Edition Remastered. 2014 Remastered.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. It's Five Nights at Freddy's. I thought that series was over. You gotta give the dude credit. He's really milking it. Whatever. Mafia 3. It's actually really good. It doesn't pretend to be real in-depth. It doesn't pretend to be anything more than what it is. A crime simulator, where you walk around and you blow people away. That's it. Got a great soundtrack, good visuals, mediocre story, but you know, who the hell cares? Cool time period. Just a good, solid game. Just good across the board. Not great, not a classic, but good. Strong and good. Why is that such a bad thing? Why do we aim for the sky, Sean Murray, and then crash into the deepest pits of hell, Sean Murray? Why can't we just make a good, solid game anymore? Mafia 3. Those dudes get it. 100-foot robot golf. 100-foot robot golf? How have I never played this? Criminal Girls 2 Party Favors for the PS Vita. I didn't even know they were still supporting the PS Vita. Criminal Girls 2 Party Favors? Sounds dangerously similar to Custer's Revenge. I don't think I want any of that action. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Century... Excuse me. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary Edition World Tour. At least I get why they remastered this. It's 20 years old. Has it aged terribly well? No. It's a time capsule to a bygone era where shooters weren't, well, as polished as they are today. Still got some cool level design, not great level design, in some cases pretty good though. New set of levels that are really not very well designed. The humor has not aged well. Still better than Duke Nukem Forever. And that's the yardstick we must use when measuring these things. Gears of War 4. Because 3 just wasn't enough. It's another Gears of War. Beautiful looking game. Good action. You know, and I know I'm being unfair because it's a Windows Xbox exclusive. It falls into the same camp as Uncharted 4. I don't have as much invested in the Gears of War series, obviously. It's not one of my particular cups of tea. But I do think it is a very similar case to Uncharted 4. It's just a polished version of what came before it. It's not a huge leap forward. Is it good? Yes, it really is. Again, kind of like Mafia 3, Uncharted 4, Dark Souls 3, very solid game. All right, it really is very good. It just doesn't bring anything new, doesn't bring anything special to it. But I enjoyed it when I played it. Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration. The award for worst title for a remake or a remaster ever goes to Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration. Well, it sold more copies than it did on the Xbox One, I think. I don't really care. It was a good game. Again, a solid game. I just don't know why we had to wait a year to get it on the PS4. That was just kind of stupid. A timed exclusive deal. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. But hey, that's the way that goes. Again, a solid game, but nothing new. Nothing really brought to the game that came before it. Visually, yeah, pretty impressive. I liked it. Not the most impressive I've ever seen, but a good effort. Civilization 6. It's another Civilization game. They're all really good. But again, it's just more of the same. And I know that sounds like I'm dumping on some of these games for being more of the same. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do like change. I do like developers to experiment, to try new things. Yes, sometimes you're going to screw up. Sometimes people aren't going to care, but I want some new stuff every now and then. Civ 6, it's good. You know, play it. If you like the Civilization series, if you like simulators, play it. Batman the Telltale series, Episode 3, New World Order. I don't remember seeing any of the other ones this year. Strangely enough, I know I've played them all. It sucks. The whole series, it just sucks. I mean, wow. Admittedly, Telltale has one engine and one way of making games, and, you know, it's a Telltale game, but Batman, this was not a franchise that needed a Telltale game. There's just nothing to recommend the Batman Telltale games. Titanfall 2. Wasn't bad. Again, another mediocre. Excuse me. All right. Let's be fair. It's not a mediocre game. It's a good game. It's a cool game. It's a nice looking game. Plays well. Not a bad game. But there's nothing special about it. It's basically just a remastered version of Titanfall. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. All right, look. Skyrim, for as much as I will bitch and moan and dump on it, is one of my favorite games of all time. It's a fantastic game. All right? Littered with good stuff. All right? Its flaws are there and are pronounced because of how good so much of the game really is. What's the problem with the special edition? Well, on the PS4 and the Xbox One, it looks almost as good as the original Skyrim looked on the PC with everything turned on. And that's before you modded the game. Does it look good? Yes. Does it play well? Yes. It's Skyrim. All right. You can now play with mods, which is a much bigger thing on the Xbox One than the PS4, because the PS4 version, Sony, Bethesda, somebody is being douchey about the way mods are handled. The mods are not as good on the PS4 version. They're not bad, but they're not as good. The PC version, minimal mods on the vanilla version of Skyrim still makes a game that looks better than the out-of-the-box special edition on the PC with everything turned on. You can make this game look as great as you want it to look. The modding community is going over to the special edition. It's now got a 64-bit engine, which is a godsend for mod developers on the PC. And I think you're going to see some really, really amazing games, amazing things come out for this game. And we've already seen some amazing things for this game. It is a, what is this? A 5-year-old game at this point? 2016, 2011, yeah. It's a 5-year-old game. Do I really care about a 5-year-old game? I like that I can now play it on my PS4, and I don't need to plug in my PS3. Of course, that was a nice thing when I didn't have a PC copy, but oops, I've got a PC copy. Another thing that I don't like about the special edition is that there was no upgrade path for the PS3 to PS4 players, for the Xbox 360 players to the Xbox One players. The PC version, if you had the entire game or the Legendary Edition, all the DLC for it, you got an automatic upgrade for free. I think that was really cool. I would have liked to have seen that done for the console players. I think that's a cool way of rewarding brand loyalty. But hey, Bethesda also wants to shit on players by not providing review copies. So, big ups, Bethesda. All right, is there anything else? Please God, we're in November. COD Infinite Warfare. Apparently nobody's playing this game. I don't mean nobody at all, but apparently numbers are huge, hugely down from years past. It's COD. This is a series where I feel safe in saying, if it's not an improvement over the last one, if it's just a mediocre upgrade over the last one, at this point, you can just dump on the game. Infinite Warfare, I truly don't care. I haven't liked this series since Call of Duty 4. 12 games in as many years, apparently. Who cares? You know, stop with the Call of Duties. Go on to something else. Or drop the bullcrap narrative altogether and just make the multiplayer component. That's all anybody really cares about with these games anyway. Dishonored 2. Oh, damn. And coincidentally, the very next line says Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection. That's not an accident. Dishonored 2 suffers from the worst aspects of Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid, and Assassin's Creed all meshed into one game. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but the difficulty curve is way too steep. The gameplay really is very limited despite the ostensibly open world aspect of it. It's not an open world game. It's an open world game that's divided into missions, which really does constrain that open world. Narratively, it's disappointing and silly. I played the original Dishonored after I played this one because I got a free copy of it with my day one edition. The original one, Will had told me was a fantastic game. I didn't enjoy it terribly much. I didn't think it was a bad game, but Dishonored 2 does polish the original game, but I really wasn't terribly impressed. The controls I didn't like. There's a weird input lag that I've experienced, and I know PC gamers are having this as well. I haven't heard as much about the PS4 version, but at first I thought it's because I upgraded to a 4K TV. So I turned on game mode, and I've still got this lag. It's not as bad, but it's still noticeable. It's kind of like in, I want to say it was Killzone 2 or Killzone 3, where there was a movement lag. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now, especially in a game like this where movement needs to be precise. You need to move when you need to move, not half a second later. Overall, it's okay. Get it when it's down in price, when it's half price, or $35, even $40 maybe. But full price right now, no, skip it. It's just not worth it right now. The Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection, yet another remaster.
Son of a bitch!
The Ezio games, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Revelations, the high water mark for the series, ignoring for a moment Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which isn't an Assassin's Creed game. It's a pirate game masquerading as an Assassin's Creed game. But the Ezio games are fantastic. Great story, great character arc, very, very solid gameplay. They took some chances with Brotherhood and especially with Revelations, adding new features. Didn't quite work all the time, but they really were good games. This collection is a travesty, all right? It looks worse than the original games, all right? We've got all kinds of texture problems, frame rate problems on my copy. Just another bad port, another bad set of remasters. Why do they keep doing this? Watch Dogs 2. It's better than the original, which isn't saying much. The character has a personality this time, which isn't saying much. Is it a good game? It actually is. It reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed 2 in terms of the jump from Game 1 to Game 2 in the franchise. However, nobody's buying it. Nobody's playing it. People were so burnt by the original Watch Dogs. People were burnt on Watch Dogs in a way that they were really kind of burnt on No Man's Sky. Hugely disappointing in every possible aspect. Watch Dogs 2 improved in every area. But here's the rub about that. When you start at 0, you've got nowhere to go but up. So if the game is a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 to 10, if you've got a game that's a 2, that's a marked improvement over the 0 that you started the franchise with. Anything's an improvement. It's a good game. It's not a great game. I don't see this as becoming a major franchise. I think they screwed themselves with the original game. It is what it is, though. Not a bad game. Wait for a price drop. The Amnesia Collection on PS4. Darksiders Warmastered Edition. The granddaddy of them all. The game to end all games. Final Fantasy 15. Curiously, I received a request for a review of this game. I was in college when this game was first announced. In fact, I was about a month away from getting fired from my online tutoring gig because I told my boss that I wasn't going to treat kids different based on where they were logging in from. I was actually told by the company to do that. And they fired me when I said I wasn't going to do that. Sucks. Boycott. Hashtag. This game originally was named Final Fantasy 13 Versus, which is a terrible name, but hey, we were going to go with it. It was part of the Fantasy Crystal Saga, whatever they were going to call it. Fantasy of the New Crystal Kingdom or something like that. Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, maybe? I don't know. It went through design overhauls. It was not canceled at one point. It disappeared. It was basically restarted from scratch like 2.5 years ago. And it was finally released. I'm not sure anybody actually thought it was ever going to really be released. Is it any good? No. No. Look, it's a gorgeous looking game. Parts of it are more gorgeous than others, but it is overall a gorgeous looking game. It's not a Final Fantasy game, though. It's not a return to form, all right? It's a quasi-action game in which you hold down one button to attack. You control one character in your party while suggesting what the rest of them do. Kind of. You have a car that is wildly out of place in this world, in which you can only drive on roads. You have to camp in order to level up. You can basically ignore the entire story, which is ostensibly a pressing matter, in favor of the side quests, which are almost universally boring. They're run and fetch quests, run and kill something quests. The characters aren't terribly likable. They're all caricatures. They don't change. Do they have great relationships? Yeah. They have a brotastic bromance. It's an orgy of bromantic orgy stuff. But it's not very good. It wears the battle scars of a hugely lengthy development cycle. I mean, this was a game that started out on the PS3 as a PS3 exclusive, is now a multi-platform PS4, Xbox One game. It's disappointing. Is it as disappointing as Final Fantasy 13, 1, 2, and 3? No. Nothing could be that disappointing. But I do think that opening up the game the way they did was a bad idea. I'm all for open world RPGs, but I think this is too open. I don't think it's a great game. I think it's disappointing on most levels. And no, it is not a return to form. It is not a Final Fantasy game. What are we on? Oh, hey, look, December. Let It Die. It's not a bad game. Free to play, hack and slash kind of game. I'm having fun with it. It's same people did. What is it? I think it's Killer 7, and Lollipop Chainsaw, which would have been a great game if it was free to play. All right, guilty pleasure. I enjoyed that game. I'm enjoying Let It Die. Kind of silly, stupid fun, but it's free. I can't complain about this. And it's really good. Honestly, if I had paid $10, $15, $20 for this game, I'd still be enjoying it. Dead Rising 4. It's another Dead Rising game. It's another Dead Rising game. And I think that's about it. Seems like there was some other game that came out. I'm just not seeing it on this list. It seems like it was a kind of big game, kind of an important game. One of those games that was like the second coming of Christ. It was the game that was like the equivalent of a lap dance from both Cindy Crawford from the 90s and Kate Moss from the 90s. It was like, rolling on $20 million in unmarked bills. I can't remember, what was that game? Oh yeah, The Last Guardian. It's bad. Okay? It's not a good game. All right? Eco. It's not my favorite game, but I see why people like it. And I do think it's a good game. It's a beautiful piece of art. It makes a compelling case for video games as art. Shadow of the Colossus, fantastic game. Incidentally, that remaster was fantastic. All right? And it was necessary because those games never looked as good as they should have on the PS2. The Last Guardian performs poorly on the PS4 Pro. I played it on the PS4 and it's barely playable. Everything bad about the first two games from this team, from Team Eco, everything bad about those games is amplified 10 times in The Last Guardian. Performance is terrible on a standard PS4. Performance, visually, yes, it's gorgeous. But it doesn't matter because you're looking at more still frames than moving frames. The animation, yeah, really impressive. Except that the kid looks like a crudely drawn anime character and everything else is hyper realistic. It doesn't fit, it doesn't mesh well. The controls are way too clunky. To make a jump, an incredibly precise jump, you have to be absolutely perfectly lined up. No room for error. And with this set of controls, it's very, very difficult. The camera is, I thought we'd settled the camera issue last generation. All right? Bad cameras should not exist anymore. All right? There is no excuse for this. The camera will get caught inside Trico. The camera gets caught inside the big bird cat thing. What? This game is just so poorly optimized. I shudder to think what would have happened had it been released on the PS3. I'm inclined to think we would have gotten a PS4 remaster that would have run the way it was supposed to run. But hey, what we got is The Last Guardian HD Hot Dookie. It's just a bad game. The story, it's sort of emotionally compelling, but really not very good. Nowhere near as interesting or as affecting as Eco or, for me especially, the Shadow of the Colossus. I thought the relationship between the guy and his horse was much better done in that. I think the relationship between him and the woman he's trying to revive, much more interesting. The ambiguity really worked in Shadow of the Colossus, really worked in Eco. This, is it ambiguous? People say yes. I don't see it. Kind of. I'm just, this game, colossal disappointment. As bad as No Man's Sky? No, not that bad. At least there's stuff to do in this one. You can actually play this game. No Man's Sky, you just boot up and wish for death. All right, so the games themselves, a lot of the same. Some real disappointments, some real clunkers. Not the worst year, but a decidedly middling year. I think it's better than the last couple years for this console generation, but this generation really is not doing much to ingratiate itself in the minds and the hearts of gamers. I think this generation is going to go down as a transitional generation and one in which gamers became a lot more cynical, which is unfortunate because I don't think gamers as a whole are very cynical. I think they are very open to trying new things, despite what so many of the critics will say, despite what so many of the developers think. We like new, we like different, we like experimentation. Give that to us. So, good year, bad year, middling year. Nice, middle of the road. I dumped on a lot of games, mainly because there's a lot of remasters. I don't like the remasters. Very few of them have been done right. A lot of good games that are just good. They're just more of the same. Some bad movies. It's just been a middling year. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for listening. This has been Jonathan. You've been beautiful. Have a good night.